listening to The Sizzle on Iron Skillet Radio and Iron Skillet Television.
Steve Mongo Mcmichael, beloved Chicago Bear, someone we love, someone that we've watched, someone who was the life of the party. He was that person that you thought to yourself, this is the kind of guy I want to go party with. Now, I don't know if I can keep partying with him, but I would like to go party with him one night and then just have that story to tell. But right now, there is a lobbying effort to get him in the Hall of Fame. And Jay, let me hear your thoughts about Mongo at this point. Where do you stand on him being as a Hall of Famer?
He's not a Hall of Famer.
Okay.
He played on a team with a boatload of Hall of Famers, but Steve McMichael's not a Hall of Famer. A lot of his production came off because you had the sack man Dent on the outside. He had probably one of the best linebacking crews to ever play the game. You had a couple of unsung heroes on that, out of that linebacker crew. You had Mike Singletary, and you had who's playing the left side during that period of time.
Yeah, Wilbur Marshall.
Wilbur Marshall, yeah, Wilbur Marshall. I think Wilbur Marshall is Wilbur Marshall in the Hall of Fame.
I believe so. It's so many Bears in the Hall of Fame that you can't even get a good number on everybody.
He's one of the great players, right? He's one of the great players. Don't get me wrong. What I'm saying is, I just don't think he had a Hall of Fame career. I think he was surrounded by Hall of Famers, and when you're not getting doubled and triple teamed all game long, all the time, that you can make. Now, Steve McMichael made plays, don't get me wrong, but he wasn't a guy that stood out, right? He wasn't Dan Hampton-ish. He wasn't Richard Dent. He wasn't a guy you schemed for. He was just a guy who could eat up double teams. He could eat up double teams and give you a push, I don't think, I mean, to tell you the truth, would Steve McMichael been who he was had he not played for the Chicago Bears during that period of time? That's the question.
Good question.
I believe Sackman Dent would have been who he was. I believe Dan Hampton would have been who he was. I believe who else on that team would be Hall of Famer? Mike Singletary.
Yeah. Singletary, Hampton.
But as for but I believe they would have been there, but I don't think McMichael would have been there. He reminds me a lot of Yurkovich, a lot of John Yurkovich. He reminds me a lot of Yerk's tough guy. McMichael's smaller than Yerk. But that guy in the middle who was just going to beat you, who was going, wrestle you. That's why he was a tough guy in that middle. I mean, Mongo's all-time tough guy. Don't get him wrong now. But as for being a Hall of Famer, I think a lot of this has to do with ALS and what a horrible disease, to have this man deteriorate right in front of your eyes. ALS is just a horrible disease. You wouldn't wish that on anybody, and especially Mongo, who later on, I mean, he talked about how his life was, and he was trying to have more of a redemptive type spirit toward the end of his life, but he's handled it like a man, and I respect him for that greatly. But as for him going in as a Hall of Famer, and I probably want to try to do it because they know time is coming up short. But I think if you really were talking to McMichael, he would say, "Hey, look at my stats. If that rivals anybody else who played that three technique to put me in, is he Warren Sapp like? You know what I'm saying? Look at your great three techniques in the league. Is he a Warren Sapp? No, he wasn't. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't that guy. I'm trying to think of another great three technique that was inside that he wasn't who was that from Minnesota?
Did Bruce Irving play inside or outside? I'm trying to remember. Bruce Irving,
I'm not sure.
He was outside on the edge. But there are a lot of guys that that comp with Yerk is really, that's a good comp. That's a really good comp. Yerk didn't have the accolades and didn't have the longevity, but it's a good comp. I like that comp.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you know, Mcmichael was a guy who ate stuff up in the middle. You know what I'm saying? But so did a lot of guys in the league. That 3 technique's hard to shine as a 3 technique. And I believe, you know, he got the accolades because he was, you know, in the 4-6. And there was nothing that these teams could do. I mean, you look at a Refrigerator Perry. I mean, did Fridge have more of an impact on that defensive line than Mongo did?
That's a great question, because I've always thought, and maybe it was just how I looked at the game, I always thought that the Fridge had a greater impact, and maybe not as many plays. But when you say impact, when you talk about the Fridge and what he meant in that middle, he had a greater impact, a much greater impact to me.
Fridge was way faster off the ball than Mongo. Way faster.
Better athlete.
I mean, it's not even by far.
Right.
There's no comparison. He probably had 50 pounds on Mongo and he was faster than Mongo. He could penetrate, you know. Perry was just ridiculously how fast he could penetrate. It was ridiculous. And he was out of Clemson, am I right?
Yes.
I want to say his brother. In my mind, I think he was out of Clemson. Yeah. So you look at a guy like that, right, who I think had far more impact for not as long, right? But Mongo gets the nod because he was that original group. Okay. You know, that original, out of that original 4-6. But I just think I want to say probably, you know, Refrigerator Perry probably had more impact on the defensive line than Mongo did, just for being disruptive. You know, I mean, look at Keith Traylor and them. Who kept everybody off of Brian Urlacher?
Right.
Washington and Traylor, right? Was Washington comparable to Mongo?
Better athlete, stronger.
Better athlete, stronger and quicker.
And when you're talking about 3 techniques, now I'm thinking about Vince Wilfork, and now that you're jogging my memory, I'm like, no. There's some great 3 techniques who have matriculated through.
There's some great 3 techniques. There's some great 3 techniques.
Didn't John Randall play 3?
Right. So I think so. I think he was inside. Sometimes he'd be down over the center too. So you look. I mean, is Steve Mcmichael deserving of all the accolades that you give him? Absolutely is. Is he a Hall of Famer? You know, and I hope they don't show up out here with the pitchforks and, you know, think I'm in the Supreme Court or something. You know, I hope you know. I'm just trying to be truthful on this. My heart goes out to Mongo. I mean, if he got in, I'd be the first person. I probably would have a little tear in my eye going down because of him, because, you know, for all he means to Chicago. But on just sheer merit, I would have to say no, he doesn't get in.
Make sure that you follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Iron Skillet Sports. And remember to like, share, and subscribe to Iron Skillet Sports.